On everybody, once again, thanks for turning out. We all know why we're here. Every one of us has been touched by this terrible thing known as cardiac risk in the young, and why we are here, that very reason. Unfortunately, when you look around, each year we see new families, which means that the cry family, so to speak, grows year on year because of the 12 a week and all of those new families that are affected by it. So we know why we're here. We're here to show people that we are going to beat this thing. We are going to save young lives. That's what it's all about. I'll hand you over to Steve. Steve's going to give you some technical details as well, and his usual speeches as we kick off the march. So, here's Steve Percival.
Hello, 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 hello. It's not raining! Again for another year. And the sun's coming out at about 4 p.m, by which time we'll all be finished. So if you do find a beer garden that you want to spend a little bit of time in after this, then that's when the sun will come out. Welcome. It's always really good to see you, but it's always really sad too. It's a kind of a bittersweet event for everybody. And I think we acknowledge that quite well. We don't hold any kind of formal minute silence at all, but when I've finished blabbering on about the route and what have you, I will read a list of the names that we've managed to capture, either from your t-shirts as you've walked around, or from Rebecca at Cry from your application forms. If, when I've read out those names, someone dear to you wasn't on the list, and you want to, please shout out their name loud and clear, okay? So, it's the Heart of Durham Walk now. It's been rebranded, and that's to fit in with the Heart of London Walk that took place about a month ago, I guess, something like that. In July, a little bit longer. They get the good weather down there. I'm a bit put off by the Roman centurion that stood there in the corner. It's just Tony, but can you imagine standing on Hadrian's Wall back in the day and having one of them running at you? I digress. So, Durham, as hopefully most of you will be aware, is a relatively small, very old city. Medieval, really, in its structure. It's tiny, which means when Ted and Emily very graciously devised this second walk, this newest walk, we had a bit of trouble stretching it out to make just over 5 miles. And that means it can be a little bit confusing, as some of you last year discovered. There's one particular point, Prebins Bridge, where you have to cross it twice. So this year, we've got some very helpful volunteers, twice in either direction, that is, I should point out, who are going to be key pinch points around the route and steer you around it so we don't get people getting lost, although the majority of them seem to get lost in a pub, I noticed last year. I don't know if that... It's a peninsula, and the river winds around it. Durham has 7 major bridges in it, and you're going to cross quite a few of them. So it can be a bit confusing. And further, there will be some of these placed around at key points, pointing different ways, obviously. Not just that way, that would be mad. So keep an eye out for those as you go around, and they'll hopefully steer you in the right direction too. When you get to the marketplace, you'll see a Cry stall, manned and womaned as ever by Kenny and Marilyn, who've been staunch supporters of Cry for many, many years. And they'll have various things there to hand out to you. But it's also about raising awareness, isn't it, as much as money. And that's the great thing about our new route. We get right into the heart of the city of Durham, and members of the public get to see us, get to see the t-shirts, get to ask questions. Similarly, when you go past the cathedral, you can go in there too if you like. And I know that the cathedral staff welcomed you very warmly last year. So, the route is exactly the same as last year. You do have a photographic and written guide. Please do read those. They should guide you around as much as the marshals. If you haven't got any, come and grab one before you go. So the number 8, it is our 8th year. And the number 8, I was terrible at maths at school. I don't know why I do this every year, because it confuses me every time I do it. But the number 8 is quite an important number, for lots of different reasons. It's thought to be the universal number of harmony and balance. It's a very lucky number for the Chinese, so much so that at the opening ceremony of the Summer Olympics in China, I didn't know this, It began on the 8th of the 8th, 2008, at 8 minutes and 8 seconds past 8 p.m. That's how superstitious they are. It also, for the Chinese, represents the totality of the universe. But in our old naval history, if you're behind the 8 in England, it means you're unlucky. Don't know if that means 8 ball, does it? Maybe the 8 ball in pool there. The amount of clouds in the sky, and this is very pertinent at the moment, is measured in octas. And that means 1 to 8. So I think we're probably looking at about an 8 today. The number 8 is the atomic number of oxygen, which is kind of important, and which thunders through the heart as it keeps us going. There are 8 pints in a gallon. Hey. My grandma always said, never have one over the 8, Steve. I had no idea what she meant, but there you go. There are 8 planets in our solar system, and it takes 8 minutes for the light from the sun to reach us, which just blows my tiny mind. The mathematical symbol, this is where I get a bit shaky ground. The mathematical symbol for infinity is an 8, but on its side. I like that. And of course, much more important in the grand scheme of things, are the Beatles, who, I think they lived to regret it, but they thought there were 8 days in a week. Right, on to why we're here. If I could have your silence and your love. We are here to remember Jack Balfour, Chris Britton, Andrew Callender, Stephen Carey, Ashley Goodwin, Dean Henderson, Damien Jewell, James and Leon Johnson, Eleanor Keeler, Stephen Lamb, Alan Lumley and Steph McLean, Levon Morland, Andy Oliver, Kevin Patterson, Alexandra Pope, Mike Scott, Alex Smith, Robert Daniel Smith, Callum Staple, and David White. Are there any other names? Okay. Thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Talk to anybody you see in Durham and tell them why you're doing this and why you're here, because the more people that know about Cry's mission and the fact that 12 young people die each week in this country, the more chance they are of getting their own children checked when they get to the appropriate age to have an ECG and do some exercise. And that's what it's all about, stopping this before it starts, whether it's on an international football pitch or whether it's while somebody's just sleeping in their bed. All right? Can we have a really, really big cheer after 3? 1, 2, 3. Hey! All right. Now, we have Carol and Dick are here. Carol and Dick, wave at the people. Wave at the good people. Carol and Dick are leading it off today, okay? So follow them. They've been told not to walk too fast this year. They made it back in about half an hour last time. And follow them down to the river and enjoy the walk. And for heaven's sake, take a guide if you haven't got one, all right? Thank you, guys. Have fun.